It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Smooth and Savvy is joined by some of the hottest talent in the entertainment industry, from musicians to authors and all those in between. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Mr. Smooth and Savvy himself, Douglas Coleman.
Hello there, Heidi, ho, heidi. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. Nice to have you here. Thank you for coming and joining us for our show. Nena Eskridge is here today. She is a filmmaker and writer. She has made a new film called Stray, which is a great thriller. I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I think you should watch it and hopefully enjoy it too. She will be up in the second half of the show. We've got lots of MusicXray submissions to play today. I was getting a little bit behind on getting these aired. And thank you to everybody for submitting. We've been getting lots and lots of submissions. So I wanted to kind of clear the pile a bit. So we've got 7 songs to play today. All of these came through MusicXray in one form or another, most through submissions, but a couple of them I actually seeked out and found myself. First one up is Life Inside a Song by Arielle Phillips. Next is Gold in the Dirt by, I think it's Danae, D-A-N-A-E. Next one is By the Time You Get Married by Rocquette. Next one up is It's Gotta Be Love by Brennan A. Followed by Soul Party Picnic, featuring Wornell Jones, by Gitahrman. Next is YOY by Mick J. Clark. And finally, Half Light, Half Sound by Acme Giants. So, without further ado, we'll go straight into the music, and then we will have Nena Eskridge.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
In-house production and recording in Louisiana Publishing Company is now offering a special for podcasters on their CD Pro Radio network. For just $20 a month, CD Pro Radio will broadcast your podcast twice a week on their network. This is a great and inexpensive opportunity for podcasters to gain some exposure for their show without having to spend a lot of money. Please check them out at cdproradio.com. That's cdproradio.com.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Go listen, download, and subscribe to The Douglas Coleman Show. It's available at the website douglascolemanmusic.com/DCS. Also on iTunes, Spreaker, and YouTube. The Douglas Coleman Show is an internationally syndicated talk and music show that features fascinating and sometimes famous guests from all aspects of the entertainment industry. The topics can range from light and fluffy to sober and serious. Our focus is on music artists, but we also feature producers, authors, directors, and even promoters. The Douglas Coleman Show. Sometimes chat, sometimes music, always entertaining. Again, it's available today at the website douglascolemanmusic.com. DouglasColemanMusic.com/DCS. You can also connect with them on Facebook at Douglas Coleman Show 1, follow on Twitter at Douglas Coleman 3, and you can even find them on TuneIn Radio. Again, that's the Douglas Coleman Show at the website DouglasColemanMusic.com/DCS, iTunes, Spreaker, YouTube, and more. Go listen, download, subscribe, and share with your social networks today.
Driving shotgun, desert ahead, hoping that the emptiness filled the void inside my head. Wore so many shoes, from one designer to the next, begging for a place to plant my feet and rest my head. I feel a song coming on so strong, the beat thumping deep inside me. So late to begin, I'm moving on. This is my life inside a song, my life inside a song. Pen hits the paper to draw the dream that I long, ignited like a fire inside a country song. Images in a 10-way mirror of everything I didn't do, only to find myself on a road back to you. I feel a song coming on so strong, the beat thumping deep inside me. So late to begin, I'm moving on.
the dust in the air.
my breath away as I search for something clever to say. I knew that this would forever change my life. Gazing into each other's eyes, what we found was such a pleasant surprise. 'Cause we both knew that this was the start of you and me. Oh, it's gotta be love. Have to be love. Love a feeling. It's gotta be love. Don't know what's coming. It's in control of what we'll be. We felt this by the pounding of our hearts. Oh, yes, we did. It's gotta be love. Have to be love. What else could it be? It's gotta be love. Don't know what's coming. It's in control of what we'll be. We felt this by the pounding of our hearts. Love was in control of me. So take my hand, come walk with me. Share love's joy and rock to ecstasy. 'Cause I know for sure that you're the one for me. Oh, a bear hug, your breath on my chest. Our world's complete, our hearts surely confess that this feels like what love's supposed to be. Oh, it's gotta be love. Have to be love. Yeah, love a feeling. It's gotta be love. Don't know what's coming. It's in control of what we'll be. We felt this by the pounding of our heart. Oh, yes, we did. It's gotta be love. Yeah, baby. What else could it be? It's gotta be love. It's in control of what we'll be. We felt this by the pounding of the heart. Love was in control. I tell you, love is such a special feeling. It's the essence of our hearts. And when you find the special someone to share it with, the world won't be able to keep you to apart. No, they won't. It's gotta be. It's gotta be. No, no. It's gotta be. Had to be love. You don't know what you did to me, baby. Had to be love. Nothing else. It had to be. Yeah, girl. Got to be love, love. just love everyone, and you know that's a good time. At the soul party picnic, at the soul party picnic tonight. See you at the party. Nothing but soul tonight. Now we sit around looking like you don't know what to do. You just come to the party, got somebody for you. It's like sand in your hands and it's falling through. Don't just sit around, come to the party. Soul party picnic, soul party picnic tonight. Soul party picnic, come to the soul party picnic tonight. Come on, come on, come to the party tonight. See you at the party. Come to the party tonight.
Oh, why? Everybody plays around every night in every town. Everyone just getting down with someone new. But there's only one for me that I always long to see. But I struggle endlessly to say I love you. I seem to be a different guy. I never know the reason why. Trying to impress, I guess, but why? Oh, why? Can I just be who I am? Take control and be the man. But when we meet, I cease to be me. I don't understand, 'cause I want us to spend our lives together. Every day from now until forever. You're the one love in my life, but it seems love won't survive. 'Cause I always have this dream we'll never be together. Always looking back on me forever. Every time I'm getting you, I feel love slowly disappear. Oh, why? Oh, why? Can I say I'm not that kind of guy? Oh, why? Oh, why? I'm sure one day she's gonna say goodbye. Can't forget the night we met. You were more than just perfect. You were everything that I've been waiting for. What a body, I confess, and a face the prettiest, and your hair and the clothes you wear, and oh, so much more. So I'm putting on this act to cover up just what I lack. How I wish that I could go back, start over again. So do I say and sound a fool, or start it out and play it cool? Guess I broke that golden rule, just always be the same. Now how can I explain? 'Cause I want us to spend our lives together. Every day from now until forever. You're the one love in my life, but it seems love won't survive. 'Cause I always have this dream we'll never be together. Always looking back at me forever. Every time I'm getting you, I feel love slowly disappear. Oh, why? Oh, why? Can I say I'm not that kind of guy? one day she's gonna say goodbye. Oh, why can I say I'm not that kind of guy? Oh, why? Oh, why? Oh, why? Oh, why? Oh, why?
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. See? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Wrong hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Please welcome my special guest, Nena Eskridge. How was that? Okay, thank you. How are you, Nena?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about you, Douglas?
Doing very well also. Enjoying getting back to work. I was out of work for a couple of weeks, took a little time off, and now I'm back in the saddle, and you are the first interview of the month. I'm very happy to have you on the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Before we get to your film, which, by the way, I just watched earlier today, was excellent. I got a lot of things to talk about regarding the film. But before we get to the film, I just would like you to tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll talk about your film, okay? So if you could, just a background.
Sure. Just a little bit about myself, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I am originally from Kentucky, born and raised, lived in Texas for a while, and went to school there and decided that I wanted to get into film, actually in the late 70s, giving a little bit too much information. But anyway, I went to Ithaca College, moved to Ithaca, and went to Ithaca College and got my film degree. Graduated there and moved to New York City. Basically, you either go to LA or New York after film school. So I chose New York, lived there for many years, and worked in just about every area of production. Primarily, I'm a writer, producer. This is my first effort for directing, so that was pretty terrifying. But I'm basically a transplant from the South in the North, making little films. Now living in Philadelphia, by the way. I moved from New York City to Philadelphia so that I could make Stray.
Well, I'm glad you chose New York City over L.A. because that definitely would have been my choice.
Yeah, I'd be a different person today, I'm sure,
yeah.
if I had chosen L.A.
I'm not a big L.A. fan, but I like the weather. That's it. It's the only part of L.A. I like.
Yeah, of course I'm not going to dog on L.A., but yeah, I prefer the East Coast. I'm now officially a Yankee, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Well, if you've lived in New York for, over 20 years, then...
About 18 years, yeah.
Yeah, You're officially a Yankee.
Thank you. No one's ever said that to me before. Thank you so much.
Do you remember the first film you made?
The first film I made was back in Texas, in, like I said, the late 70s, where we actually used film. Super 8, actually. And we made, a couple of friends and I made a little film called Andy, which was about, 5 minutes long. It won some award back then at the Texas Expo in Houston, and that's what got me hooked. That's the first film I have ever been involved with. Yeah, made one in college when I went to Ithaca, another short, and that was my first film as director, and my last. I learned at that point that I'm not a director.
How did you decide that? Because you just were a director in this latest film.
I think I'm good at producing. Directing is not something that I've really, not everybody can be a director, and I knew that. So, I don't really like people very much, groups of people. Decided early on that I loved working in my office, producing and writing. But with Stray, the story is so dark that it could have gone in a direction that I knew I didn't want it to go. I talked to several directors, and I couldn't find the right director. So the next thing I knew, it was ready to go, and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to direct this myself. So I jumped in. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Glad I did it. Very, very proud of it. But it was hard. It was really, really hard.
Well, you wrote it, you directed it, and you also produced it. Is that correct?
I did.
Yeah, and you filled the plate.
Worked for a year doing that, so I was exhausted. By the time production started, it was I was already in up to my neck. So it was really hard.
You brought up something regarding your first film, and I want to go back to that. You said that was actually on film, real film.
Right, real film.
Now, with the modern digital age, everybody has the ability to edit right on their computer. On a laptop, you can pretty much do incredible editing that was not possible back in those days. In those days, you actually had to get a pair of scissors and cut the film. and throw it on the floor, the parts that you didn't want, and kind of paste it together. And
That's exactly what we did. A pair of scissors and Scotch tape.
And
That's
Scotch
exactly
tape,
how we
yeah.
did it. Yeah, absolutely. Whole new learning curve when digital came. I mean, I remember when they were saying, oh, one day there won't be film. It'll only be digital. And we're like, oh, please, that'll never happen. And here we are.
we still don't have the flying cars yet, but
Not yet.
I remember that too from school. We're going to have flying cars and picture phones. Well, the picture phones we got,
There you go. There
but
you go.
no flying
Got
cars.
those. Fortunately or not, I'm not sure.
Would you make an artistic statement that you prefer the quality of film to digital? I don't mean the working with it, but the actual what it looks like. Or do you think that the digital is great and you don't want to go back to film?
That's a great question. Visually, I cannot help it. I still prefer film. That's the way I was trained. I grew up watching film. I prefer it. However, if that's all there was, I wouldn't be able to make any film ever again, much less Stray. It makes it much more affordable, blah, 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 much easier to shoot. You can use 2 cameras, edit on your computer, as you said. But I would love to make one film using film and film cameras. But I would never do it unless I had a huge budget. You have to do it right, or it's just too difficult. It's just physically demanding, and that, of course, takes away from the artistic approach to the project if you're concentrating on, technical stuff, so that I could hire the right people for the right job with regard to the crew and actors. But yeah, in answer to your question, I'd love to make one more film.
How different is it shooting? Is the shooting process if you're using real film than if you're just using a digital camera? Is it any different, or is it the same?
It is different. It's different. It's quicker. And what we did with Stray, which is sort of unusual for film, is we did a 2-camera shoot. We had 2 cameras so that it took less time. We shot this film in 18 days, which is
Wow.
very difficult.
That is quick, yeah.
It was almost impossible, and I think it would have been impossible if we didn't have 2 cameras. We had 2 cameras going all the time, so that saved us so much. And of course, dailies at the end of the day. Film, you send it off to a lab, and you have to wait to get it back before you can see what you've actually captured that day. Did it work? Did it not work? On a budget like mine, I wouldn't be able to do that. But with digital, we sat down after every take and we'd check it out and see if it worked. So yeah, it is a lot more convenient, and you have a better chance, especially on my kind of budget, at having an actual film when you're finished, as opposed to waiting until everything's broken up, the production's broken up, and you get all of the film process, and you walk into the room and you say, oh my God, I forgot a scene, or some sort of other problem, continuity or something.
Well,
easy to reshoot.
Right. Well, you're right about digital being cheaper. I mean, there's no comparison. I don't even know what film would cost these days. I mean, let's say hypothetically that you had unlimited budget and you were going to reshoot Stray exactly how you did it, but you're going to do it on 35 millimeter film.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
What do you think that would cost? Just what do you think? What do you think you would need to do that?
It's pretty much the way that I work, because I've never had money. I say I've got this much money and I work backwards. So I would say, if you give me $5 million, I can make a beautiful film. I'd love to, redo Stray on film for $5 million. You give me $40 million, and we would be talking a whole different ball game. Then we would have A-list actors. It would be a different project, totally different. And I'm honestly not sure it would work. Stray, I wrote to shoot on a low budget. There are no cars exploding, no chase scenes. You have dramatic action, not physical action. And that's the difference between writing a big budget film and a micro budget film. You have to have the dramatic action. That doesn't really wash in a big film unless you have Meryl Streep. And I don't think she would be interested in my film.
Oh, you never know. She might have played the lead all right. Well, she'd be a little bit old. That's the only.
I have to rewrite a few of the lines.
Yeah.
I think
she might have been able to
whatever.
play the mother.
It would have been a completely different experience visually and realistically as a director.
Well, I think I agree with you because I'm thinking about the film. I mean, what could you have done with $40 million to do with that film? Because, like you said, you don't need spaceships. You don't need things landing. You don't need,
exactly,
sort of George Lucas quality stuff. It's just a story. It's just a sort of a scene from a space of time. It kind of starts in the middle and it sort of ends in the middle is the way I looked at it. It wasn't a real complete story. It was just sort of a segment of a story. You going to do a sequel?
I never intended to do a sequel, but jokingly, people have requested that they want to know where Jennifer goes at the end of this story. So for fun, maybe.
Okay.
I would do it if again, it's all about money.
All about
really
money. Life is all about money. It's too bad.
If somebody gave me money, if I had, a budget that I could live with, yeah, absolutely. I am curious. I don't know what happens to this character at the end of this story. So I'd love to figure that out.
Well, let's talk about the film a little bit because we've just teased everybody talking around the film without actually talking about the film. So you've got a lot of interesting characters in it, very kind of real people. When you did your writing, I've talked to other writers, screenwriters and novelists, authors, who say that the characters that they come up with are sort of composites of people that they've met throughout their life. Like this one is a combination of these four people and, they don't want them to be identical, obviously, but it just kind of goes into your brain, into the blender. And when it comes out, when you write it out, hopefully it's some interesting type of a character. That's,
right.
Is that accurate for you, for your writing?
Probably the most difficult thing to do as a writer is to give each character their own unique voice. If you're not careful, as you just said, each one will sound alike. It is difficult, but it's all part of the process. It doesn't matter if it's narrative. It doesn't matter if you're writing a novel. You have to have a unique voice for each character. So I don't, in the first draft of anything that I write, that might be a bit of a problem. I personally concentrate on the story and how the story unfolds. When I'm finished with that first rough draft and I decide, well, I do have a story here. It is a rough draft, but I have a story. Then I'll go back and work on fine-tuning each character, making sure that they each have their own voice. So, it is tough to do, but it's all part of the process, like I said. And yes, in answer to your question, yeah, each character is probably a compilation of people that you've known throughout your life. In this situation, the lead character is a bit insane, so I haven't known anyone exactly like her, but enough so that I think I wrote a believable character. My goal being to write a flawed character without it being cliched, more the way they really are, how monsters you don't always recognize from the get-go, that they're just like you or me in some cases. So the lead character was a little bit more difficult, very dark, obviously, and I really had to dig into her to get her right on the page and on the screen. It wasn't easy. It was a very dark place to go.
Well, she was great. Gabrielle Stone, who played Jennifer,
right. Mm-hmm.
She was fantastic because there was so many elements of like schizophrenia in her.
Exactly.
Where on the one side she could be so sweet and charming and just very childlike, and then, the knife comes out. in the same scene. And
for me as a writer, that's she almost has multiple personalities.
Right.
The idea is dissociative identity disorder. For me as the writer, that's how I viewed her. She has a childlike personality. She has a sinister personality. She has a personality of someone who wants to fall in love, a loving personality. She has all kinds of personas. That's how she survived.
Yeah, she went through the whole gamut of emotion in that hour and a half.
Well, let me tell you, she was really amazing, primarily because I had another actress that I was working with and have been working with for years on this. And she had to drop out at the last minute. And I was, at the point where I was either going to have to shut down. I mean, we had not started production, but we were getting ready to. And I didn't have a lead, someone who's in every scene. And I kind of stumbled across Gabrielle through a friend. And she, without missing a beat, she took the character on right, just coming out of the gate. And I was saved. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done. And she was wonderful to work with, of course. So.
Oh, I thought she did.
She's E.T.'s mom's daughter, so, that was fun too.
She's what?
Dee Wallace. Didn't I tell you that? She's Dee Wallace's daughter, who was in E.T., in Cujo, The Howling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's who her mom is. So she grew up in the industry. Her mother is an actress, and so was her father, who died tragically when she was young. But yeah, her mother is a vet. She's known as a scream queen, Dee Wallace. But for me, she's a terrific actress.
Well, I thought she looked familiar. When I saw the film, when I first came on, I was like, wait a minute, is that Jennifer Aniston? And I said, no, that's not it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. She does have that look. And she looks like her mother. She does look a lot like her mother. So, yeah, you look at her and you say, I've seen her somewhere before. But the truth of the matter is she works constantly. So she has been on the screen a lot. She does a lot of horror. I think this was the first drama that she's done. But she has had a couple of leads in a couple of features. And is, working right now. Just finished something called Rock, Paper, Dead.
Oh.
With Tatum O'Neal. So she works constantly.
I like that title.
I do too, yeah. And I like Tatum O'Neal, so that should be fun.
Yeah, God, now I'm going to date myself, but I can remember her from Paper Moon and, 12-year-old Scott Baio in that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember
her age here.
Yeah. One thing about the movie, and I think this was probably my favorite part, as a critique, okay, was the ending. Now, I'm trying to figure out how I can talk about the ending without actually giving it away. I don't want to be the spoiler here to your film.
Right. You have to be very careful with that.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, I haven't decided yet in my own head if that was a happy ending or not. The jury's still out on that. I'm still thinking about it, which is cool because usually most films, not all of them, but most films, when they end, that's it, and you forget about it and you go walk away. But your film stuck with me all day today, and I've been battling this idea of, was that a happy ending? Because on one level, I felt like it sort of was this weird happy ending. But on another side, if you believe what she said during the film, then it wouldn't be, So
that's very interesting. To me, it was the most tragic ending I could possibly come up with. There were basically two ways to go. What I did, well, actually maybe three. The ending that you actually saw, the ending where, the no ending, it just stops.
It just stops. Yeah.
Or she gets killed. Now, we won't tell which one is the one we actually did, but to me, like I said, it couldn't have been more tragic. for me, Stray was a bit of a morality tale in a sense that, without, again, giving too much away, I want people to think about this movie after they've seen it. It's for me, again, as the writer, not necessarily as the viewer, the film is about abuse, specifically child abuse.
Right.
And when it happens, monsters are created. Not to say that all people who have been molested turn into monsters, but all of the monsters that we know of have experienced child abuse of some sort. So that is what the movie is about for me. Now, I'm not sure, based on reviews, some people catch it, some don't. Speaking of reviews, they go from 5-star to 1-star.
Wow.
Worst film I've ever seen, boring. I think that it actually makes people angry. I've gotten maybe 2 angry reviews, which is painful for me, but it is also very telling and rewarding in the sense that at least they reacted. At least it does get a reaction. And it's being, for some reason, because I'm a first-time filmmaker, my distributor and my PR people are touting or promoting Stray as a horror film. And that it couldn't be any farther away from a horror film. Emotionally horrific, perhaps. But there's no blood, there's no sex. It's all implied. Very little violence, really, for a serial killer. It's implied and off the screen. It's the farthest thing from a horror film that I could get. So people go into this film thinking they're going to see a booby fest, what I call a bloody booby fest, and that is not Stray. So I do get really interesting reactions as a result of that.
Well, the bloody booby fest, as you said, were those wonderful ones in the 70s, like My Bloody Valentine, and
exactly. Well, you might be surprised since this is being touted as a horror film. I am seeing horror films that my film is being grouped with regard to the distributor, and those 70s films, horror films, are still around. They're still alive and well.
Oh, they're cult.
There are so many of them.
Yeah, they've got a cult following, those films.
Oh, they really do.
Yeah.
And if you make one, chances are you're going to be successful, regardless of the quality of the film, the end result. There is a whole audience out there, a huge one, that wait for these films. And like I said, when they stumble across Stray, the reviews and comments sometimes are very, very angry. Lifetime movie, they call it a Lifetime movie. I'm like, oh my God. I don't think so, but, whatever. At least it's attention. People are reacting, and that's what's important to me.
You're right. Calling it a horror film is inaccurate. A thriller, a psychological thriller, would be more accurate of a genre than horror.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you recognizing that. That's what I called it in the beginning, was a psycho thriller. And then I just said, forget it, let's just go with drama.
Well, drama might be a little bit light, only because of the subject matter.
Exactly. But people, when they pay to see this film, they get really angry if it's not what they expect it to be, which is understandable, I suppose, if they're going for a slasher film. I can't do anything about that. I really have no control over how the film is promoted. Again, like I said, maybe it's because I'm a first-time director. When I scream and yell and tell them to please stop calling it a horror, they just kind of laugh and do whatever they want to do. They're great. I mean, the distributor and the PR person. I am kind of baffled by that. I don't really understand the benefit of it, but not my job.
Well, you're right about people making noise about the film, whether it be positive or negative, because even a lot of negative publicity will get you attention. There'll be people that'll watch it, they say, well, okay, let's go see how bad it is. If somebody wrote that it was really hard.
Exactly.
And you'll get
that's fine with me.
Yeah, and you'll get the view anyways, so,
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Well, You know what? I think we are out of time, unfortunately.
This was fun, Douglas. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Interview.
Oh, my pleasure. The film is called Stray, and it's available. Is it on VOD, Video On Demand now?
It is specifically Amazon.com. It's actually free if you have Amazon Prime. It's also on Google Play right now.
Okay, super. And you said the reviews are coming in one side of the stick to the other, huh?
One extreme to the other.
Well, that's good.
One extreme to the other. Yeah, I guess so.
I'd look at that as
They're
positive.
hard to read, but I guess you must be right.
I'll take that. If I made a film and I was getting those, reviews from one end to the other, I think I would be pleased with that. If everybody came in the middle and went,
exactly.
then I'd be worried, I think.
I do agree with you there. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, Nena, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Douglas.
Best of luck.
Enjoyed it.
Best of luck with the film. I hope it does very well. Well, that's about all the time we've got for the show today. I want to thank my special guest, Nena Eskridge, and thank you to all the music artists from MusicXray who have submitted their music for airplay. This is Douglas Coleman saying goodbye.
It's a big